What's up, guys? Welcome to the latest episode of the Always Race Day podcast presented by the fine folks over at the Carlotto Group. We are going to hop into everything from Talladega, how the month got started today, Ryan Blaney, the whole 9 yards. But first, we have to thank the great people at the Carlotto Group. If you're looking for a car, that's the place to go. They will get you hooked up. They are a presenting partner here at Always Race Day, and they do a fantastically awesome job. So check them out if you ever feel so inclined. And let's get into it, Caleb. It's Brocktober. Excited?
It is October. I don't get excited for football if
What do you mean?
that's
Well,
the.
no. Brett Moffitt. Brett
Oh,
Brocktober. What did you think I was doing?
I figured you were making like a Brock Purdy thing.
No. I wouldn't bring Iowa State onto this show. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Conflict of
Okay.
interest. We don't do that at
Oh
all.
man. Yeah, Brett Moffitt won the truck race. Hopefully it'll help him get a ride next year.
So I'm so fucking I'm still amped about it. That I love seeing Iowans win at Daytona and Talladega. It's the coolest damn thing.
I mean, I just think it's cool to see them win, period. I mean, it was cool that, basically in a one-off for Front Row that they were able to get that done. It's unfortunate that the whole reason that they put him in that car, or truck, I should say, was to help Zane Smith, and Zane ended up having a problem, but Front Row was able to get it done. And listen, Front Row showed up with a lot of speed. They had Riley Herbst was fast, and at one point, Front Row was 1, 2, 3 in the Cup race today as well. So
Yeah, let's hopefully drop in the bed here. But let's start with the Cup race and good uh Riley Herbst. Man, if you guys wanted, is my microphone going in and out again, Caleb?
it's been fine the last couple seconds, but it just did it like twice.
I don't know if it's the connector or the cable, but something, yeah. Always something with this.
It
Okay.
seems fine right now.
Yeah, it's fine. It's my screen doesn't want to show you. It's all good. There we go. Yeah, Riley Herbst. I know we had the debate on the last show about plate racing and super speedway racing, and they always have to wreck at the end of the race. You guys that worry about that side of that argument or really go out of their way to mention it, why don't you bring up the guys that bring up these wrecks?
Wait, are you saying like blame the people for the wrecks?
Corey LaJoy wanted to put his gas pedal down harder than Mike Orr did in the blind side to that dude he pushed over the fence and ran Riley Herbst right in the back of him, and boom, that's end of the game for screws. So many crews, so much money to pay, and everyone blames Talladega, but it was solely Corey LaJoy didn't take his foot off the damn gas.
Yeah, but why is Corey LaJoy fighting for a top 5 spot? Because of the track that they're at. If
Yeah,
you put them at
sure.
Kansas, then that's not the case.
Could be. I wouldn't
If
expect you to nail your gas pedal to the floor and close your eyes and not do anything until the finish line at any of
it
the
was it was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, it was a racing incident. Herbst pushed up the track and then came down a little bit, and LaJoy definitely took the stance of like, oh well.
Yeah,
And
which is like
just
it's cool, it's fine, but then you have teams that are like, I don't know why we come out here and do this, and we have to pay all this money to put on entertainment like this, and we always end up wrecking and making it an expensive day. Okay, well, go voice your opinion to Corey LaJoy. I mean, shit.
Yeah, but the problem is it just
That could
it
not be
today
more on the fault of one person in the entire field.
today it was Corey LaJoy, but the problem is this style of racing makes most of the field like that. So like
I
today it was
disagree. I
Corey
think there's
LaJoy.
one guy who's not usually great at these tracks or makes a mistake at the end of a race, and that's what causes it. But
But
it's
we've seen Brad do it, we've seen Joey do it, we've seen Chase do it, we've seen like everybody has had those issues. Chastain's done it. Like everybody's had those issues where they make these over
Chastain
aggressive.
doesn't really count because that's every track plus Daytona and Talladega. So
I mean, I guess you could say that, but yeah, like it's not just like every time we go to Daytona or Talladega, it's Corey LaJoie that's causing the big one.
Right, absolutely.
If that was the case, then yes, I'm like, all right, listen, we got to go have a conversation with Corey
He was on a
LaJoie.
crusade to end Corey LaJoie's career.
But unfortunately, I mean, it's half the field, is
Right.
kind of
I,
notorious for
I
doing that.
should say too, I don't like strictly blame him because I mean, yeah, that's what you're expected to do, right? Like if you lift, you're going to lose the race, so you might as well try to win it. I'd probably I don't in every time I watch it, I get a different opinion. Do you? Have you watched that replay back? That because I feel like Riley Herbst, it looked like he was going up, and the run that LaJoie had dictated him staying on that low line going forward, or that middle line, I guess. And obviously, he drove back over. I don't know. I don't know if that could have been avoided.
I've been set on the stance that it was one of those plate racing deals, and that's where like it was at because literally Herbst slides up, starts to come back down. LaJoie isn't going to back out because you're coming to the checkered. So like it just LaJoie could have backed out. Herbst could have not came down. They're both basically at fault, and it's just one of those scenarios that plate racing creates because it's one of those things that happens at the plate race where you just essentially run out of room, and then that happens. So I just there was one of those things where I think they're both to blame.
Yeah, and for the other side of that, for the people that say that there's too much luck involved in play racing, look at the move Ryan Blaney pulled and go back and look at the move Brett Moffitt pulled on the last lap. Excuse me, of each of those races. Just masterful driving. That because if Ryan Blaney does that same move and goes too aggressively into that left lane and scrubs a little bit more speed off, I don't know, he won by what, 0.012, 12 hundredths of a second. So
yeah, so I shouldn't say the 3 Talladega wins that Blaney has, total margin of victory for all 3 of those comes out to 2/100ths. Like
that's 0.07 twice, and then today's 0.12.
yeah,
Hold on.
insane. And it is crazy.
That's 28 thousandths.
Or 200ths, yeah.
Is it? No, it's 26th. Yeah, 26 thousandths.
You're
26
talking
thousandths is way more than 200ths. Okay.
Anywho, now I
it
forgot.
is just a crazy stat. He has managed to win these close races. He's so good at them. He is like a fantastic super speedway driver. Maybe, yeah, I don't know when a good time. Probably this episode would have been a good time to re-examine our top 5 super speedway drivers. We'll do it going into next year, anyways. So I'm not too worried.
Yeah,
Blaney's on my list though, for sure.
I'm gonna tell you, Blaney and Hamlin are definitely up at the top, and Newman would be my next one if he counts, but I don't know if he still counts anymore.
If SRX ever goes to Daytona, then yeah.
Oh God.
What's that? So Ryan Blaney joins William Byron as the free pass cars into the next round. Very, very cool for those guys. Both of them up there in the front lead in that race. I think they both overwhelmingly deserve it. And I'm kind of just stalling now to figure out where I want to go next with this show. Is my beef with the cars going airborne or almost going airborne, is that exclusively Fords that we've seen do that? Is my beef with the Ford next gen car?
That's so hard because I don't know if it's just been a coincidence or if like there's merit to that. You know what I mean? Like it's hard because it's not like we've seen it a ton to where like you can be like, okay, it's happened 10 times, they were all Fords, compared to like, okay, it's happened 3 times and they were all Fords. So like, is it a coincidence or is it like, is there merit to this? Because yeah, the way that Brad's came up was super weird today, but at least it came back down. So yeah, I guess that'd be something that the people with the very detailed numbers need to probably think about and look at.
Yeah, and you hope it's not any manufacturer doing it the wrong way, because then you're getting away with that. But anyways, yeah, scary stuff to see it, but overall, like a very clean race today. I don't think anyone was injured. Caleb texted our group chat Saturday, dancing on my grave, that a friend of the show has gone to the hospital.
I'm not excited about it.
He was.
I'm making
I'm kidding. I'm painting Caleb as the villain here.
after I say it and we sit and we're like, oh well, that's how it is, and then we send two guys to the hospital in one race, and one of them who has a broken vertebrae, and it just it's frustrating. It is so frustrating, and it's so upsetting that we just keep having these incidents. So
Now you
it
did
is.
you did send the group chat. Keep track all weekend, guys. Keep track for how many people we send to the hospital. It's gonna be a destructive weekend. Was what you're. I've kept track, and from the truck race to today, after the race, the number has gone from 2 to still 2.
Yep, which is still ridiculous for sending people to the hospital on a race weekend, but
I agree, but shit, it's a dangerous sport. Shit happens. Make the cars as safe as you possibly can. If there's anything they can get better at, especially on these lower classes, then get better at them. But it's like, do you want like? There's just no possible way to just not have plate racing in the development series either.
I know, but the unfortunate part is too, it's like right now we're looking at increasing to more super speedway
Out
races.
of all the unique stuff that everyone hates on, how did Atlanta get the like no negative press compared? Like everyone hated Bristol Dirt. Go watch that last race. It kicked ass. I don't care who you are. Um, like that got so many negative things. Half the NASCAR pit crews thought they were going to get shot in Chicago. That's probably not fair to say, as one spotter running his mouth. But you get the brigade that came with that in about the street race at Chicago, which is one of the. I think we have 9 dates confirmed for next season. From reports that I was dating around on today, and the street race at Chicago is one of them. Yeah, I have absolutely no clue how Atlanta didn't get any run. Atlanta should have won the race, by the way, and that's it.
Are you talking about New Atlanta? How New Atlanta doesn't get shit on?
Yeah, no, I mean, comparatively to Bristol Dirt, the Roval, and the streets of Chicago, I don't think it gets shit on nearly the same as those tracks.
No, because it's a super speedway. The good old classic NASCAR fans love super speedways. That's the reason that we're talking about Texas becoming one, and
And I
that's
would
why
hate
Atlanta
that.
became one.
Yeah,
Because those are the people that are saying like, "Oh, we absolutely can't get rid of any super speedway races. That's the reason that we're going to more." And so no, they're not going to complain about it because they love it.
I don't think that's why we're going to more. I just think that's what Atlanta wanted to do.
Yeah,
When the hell are we turning California into a short track, by the way?
at some point between 3 years ago and 20 years from now.
Yeah, holy cow. Like, if you're going to do it, I mean, go get the construction ready. Like, I haven't heard jack shit since we broke that story. We didn't break it. I didn't mean to say it like that.
Yeah, it
That
got
story
like,
broke.
I know it got pushed back and everything, but now I don't even know when they're supposed to like be doing it now.
Yeah, who has absolutely no idea? Not me. Um, Also, Austin Dillon finishes. I don't know where he finished actually. He got a DNF, his 10th DNF of the season. All of them have been wrecks. I want to get your take. How does he turn it around? And what do you do next year? Do you make a personality change like to yourself?
I mean, what
I
it's
don't
hard
I
because
don't think half of these have even been his fault. I can't remember any of them being like, oh yeah, Austin Dillon did that one.
Well, and that's the problem is on some of it you look and you're like, well, that's just unlucky, Obviously Talladega is Talladega. You can't really do anything about that one. You go through, I mean, God, let's look and see here. There's a point where some of them you can look at and you're like, all right, this wasn't our fault. This was just bad luck. But then, you look at it on some of them too. And if you're not back there with the squirrels, you don't get your nuts cracked. Like that's the stance that you have to have too. If you're not back there in the middle of all the craziness, you don't get caught up in some of this stuff. And I have the same opinion with like Haley Deegan. So Haley Deegan gets caught up in all these crashes, and all the fans are like, "Oh, she just needs to get out of the truck series because all the truck series drivers suck." And it's like, well, if you're not in a 6-way battle for 20th, you're not likely to get caught up in stuff.
You're not around the
if you're up,
balls.
if you're running up in 4th, you're probably fine. So some of it, yeah, it's just unfortunate because you get caught up in some stuff and sometimes you just have bad luck. So like Daytona crashed out. That's Daytona, like what are you going to do about it?
Oh God, here you go again.
Well, but what do you do?
I know. I'm just screwing with you.
So, Talladega Spring crashed out. Daytona crashed out. So he's crashed out on all 4 super speedway races. That's 4 out of the 10 right there. So 40% are literally super speedways where you really can't. I mean, you can go back and look and be like, oh, well, if we were up front, that wouldn't happen. But so that's 4 out of the 10. But then, yeah, you have to go back and look at those other ones too and say, all right, what could we have done different to not have this problem?
Right.
And that's your first step. I mean, your first step is just finishing races, and then you build back to, all right, now we need to get top 20. Now we need to get top 20, 15, top 10, and so on. But yeah, right now it's just you got to start finishing races.
Yeah, and someone asked me why he isn't, why he just has a punchable face, and I get what they're saying with that, but I do think part of it is that Austin Dillon just doesn't put himself out there a lot. I mean, social media wise, personality wise, you don't really see that Austin Dillon. It's a lot like Chase Elliott's career to a lesser tier.
I feel like the times that he has put himself out there, it's not in a positive way either. Like I feel like in the times that he is known for kind of sticking his neck out there, it's not in like a positive way that fans go and be like,
remind me. I can't remember. The last time I remember something of Austin Dillon away from the racetrack was in a charity basketball game with Denny Hamlin. Or a pickup basketball game. It might not have been a charity game.
Well, and it's not necessarily off the track, but like, what was it? Where Chase got suspended for intentionally wrecking, and then like the next weekend, at Gateway, Austin Cindric got into him, and right after that, Austin Dillon, oh, he wrecked me on purpose. He needs to be suspended. And like,
I agree with him, by the way.
The fans just didn't. The fans were like, "Shut up, baby." Like,
yeah. I don't know. I feel like if Austin put out like a podcast of him sitting by the fire and drinking beers with Jason Kelsey, that'd go a long ways for him.
Oh boy.
They can set that up. That's an easy thing to set up for sure.
There's nothing about him that people are like, yeah, I like that dude. Like there's just nothing.
He's as average as you can get with also being like the edgy country guy.
But not even that.
Not average and like look. I'm not trying to like, what do the kids call it? Mid. I'm not trying to midding him or whatever.
I feel like he comes off as better than everybody else though too. In the same token.
I don't like the silver spoon stuff and like the difference between actually being a silver spoon guy and a guy that made it to the NASCAR Cup Series and everything you do for that. I think are a couple different things, but
well, here's what I'm going to say on that.
Curious case of him.
I think Austin Dillon is more talented than Ty Dillon. But what I will tell you is one is
Why
racing
do you
for
get
Papa.
Why do you get ricochet shots on all these people? You'll bring
What
up
do
one
you mean?
guy. Ty Dillon was not a part of this conversation.
No, but listen to where I'm going.
Okay.
Austin Dillon, I think, is more talented than Ty. However, if we're having the silver spoon conversation, one is literally racing for Papa, and one has actually had to go like build his career the last several years and has not just had a ride handed to him.
Yeah, well,
So
one has Cup Series wins.
yeah, because he got handed a top tier ride.
Yeah, okay. We've seen other people get handed top tier rides, and they don't win in them.
Okay, but also Austin Dillon has asterisks next to each one of his wins. So
What are those asterisks? This is like a Brock Purdy. You're doing the Brock Purdy conversation right now. You're just doing it with Austin Dillon.
All right, let's go look at this. This wasn't on the agenda.
No, it wasn't. I can't wait to see how fast you do this, because whatever I bring up after this is going to be not Austin Dillon.
So we've got a Daytona Super Speedway win. So that's, meh. Then we've got, this one should be the Texas race that everybody.
Did you call it Daytona Super Speedway win, Matt? Was that his Daytona 500?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so he won a Daytona 500. Okay, biggest race in the sport. That's meh.
Here's the way that I classify it, though.
No, but you can't just discredit people for winning big races because you don't like the tracks that they're at.
No, that's not what it is. So here's what I'm going to say. Winning on Daytona or Talladega is great. Like, it's a win and it's a feat. I'm not going to disagree with that. Trevor Bayne won the Daytona 500. That was huge. That was big. It was legendary. He got himself a cup win. But like, when you're looking at, was Trevor Bayne a successful cup guy? No. And so if you come to me and you say, I've got 4 wins, Daytona, 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 and then a fuel mileage race, I'm going to be like, well,
okay. You can get one. You can be lucky and get one. You can't be lucky and get 2, and you can't be lucky and get a 3rd. That's where you're showing your skills as a super speedway racer.
You're showing your skills.
Now, what the hell this season was for him, I have no idea, because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe the next gen car really doesn't jive with his driving style.
You're good at one track.
It's a good one to be good at.
He's got 3 wins, 2 of them Daytona, and then the other was the Texas fuel mileage race. So I would love to see him actually go out and win a race on speed. Like, I would love to see him.
Guy manages his fuel better than 39 other competitors. It's being tapped for it as a lucky win. That's my favorite type. That's my favorite. Like the range shortened ones are fun because someone got in his ear 10 laps before that, whoever the winner ends up being, and they said, "All right, we got to go now. We got to do this," and it usually isn't lucky, or per se.
No, so him and Eric Almirola are the 2 that I would put in that category, that they really haven't shown that they can go actually win a race a traditional way.
Michael McDowell is my Eric Almirola to you.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun thing to follow next year if they're still both in the sport. Who has a better season? And I'll take Almirola, and you can take McDowell.
But that's not who's going to have more wins.
If not, we could do Austin Dillon versus McDowell, and just really.
Who's going to have more wins though?
No, we'll just be the super fans, and we'll have to talk about him every week. That'd be funny as hell.
Oh God, please no.
Can you imagine the Austin Dillon Daily Minute with Connor?
No, we don't need that.
Not sure what happened on the track this week, 32nd or something, but his kid is really good at throwing the baseball by the fire. Guys, look at this. Watch this. Just treat it like the Taylor Swift camera on Sunday Night Football.
Jesus. All right.
I'm writing that down. We're definitely doing that. Are we off Austin Dillon though?
Yeah.
All right.
We spent way too much time on Austin Dillon.
I love it. It's Austin Dillon minute. So Kevin Harvick gets DQ'd a couple hours after the race, and I'm kind of going like way out of order on this, just with different things I wrote down I wanted to talk about. But Man, good thing he didn't win that race. And do you think? I don't think they would have DQ'd him because it would. This is his last season in the sport. There's 5 races to go. Maybe that's the last chance he has at winning a race. I don't. Do you think they would have DQ'd him, Caleb?
I don't know. They sure didn't let him leave with a second place finish. So,
Well, that's. I mean, that's one thing to say is like
they
would have
couldn't even
taken
let
away
him
a
leave.
second, but not this win you got.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would think for the integrity of the sport that, they wouldn't have just let it go just because. But, yeah, I don't
You
know.
can do
It's hard.
integrity. You can do integrity of the sport stuff all you want, but I think like to me, it looks like Stuart Haas is moving manufacturers next season. Ford has only been giving good equipment for one car, that being the Kevin Harvick car. That's just what it looks like on the outside looking in. If you work for Ford and you want to come on here and defend yourself, go for it anytime. Or Stuart
I
Haas.
mean, I don't know. RFK would like to have a conversation on. I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying though.
Yeah.
That's an interesting conversation because that's what we kind of thought about the Legacy Motor Club too. We thought, oh, they're in the same boat as Stuart Haas. They're not getting the good equipment, or their team is just really struggling. And then Carson Hocevar got in the car, and it was like, oh, maybe that's not true.
You didn't think he
So
struggled today?
today, I mean,
Or are you talking about
yeah,
on his stretch in the
I'm
car as a
talking about
whole?
his
Okay,
his other.
gotcha. No, that
Today
it
you
clicked in
can't
my head as soon
really.
as I said that. I'm like, wait a second, this isn't his first race.
Yeah, mostly his other rides, but
A lot
so
of
yeah,
people
it's
liked his interview today. I saw a lot of tweets about that. He wasn't
that's good.
outlandish or anything. Didn't really. He's kind of just said like, I'm here. I want to learn what I can. I thought we learned a little bit, this and that. I think Austin Dillon thought he wrecked him. Maybe that's why.
Well, and I
I came
know
around the
he.
corner in the middle of when Austin was talking, and then just got that text from this Hawkeye fan that I've become good buddies with. He listens to all the shows. Great guy, Nate. Shout out to you.
I know, like, I mean, Hocevar did take the blame and basically said, it was partially my fault, and I, learned some things, and yeah. So, I mean, you gotta like a guy that kind of does that, and Hocevar needs to do some of that building back, because there are a
He's
good amount of
leaps and
things.
bounds ahead of Ross Chastain, though. We had that conversation about Ross that in last season, like race 12 mark, and this is where Carson Hocevar was at, and he probably is like 4 weeks ahead on the like, okay, get yourself back into the positive light here, and he's actually doing it. I'm very impressed with it. He has not gone the direct opposite way. It's just
Yeah,
so funny
well,
how Chastain's career has turned out, especially today. Him being usually he's the guy that creates the accident and others get collected. And he's the only one that drives away from it cleanly. Today, one car accident basically, and he tried to force the envelope at the end of stage one and took himself out of the race. But he didn't finish last because Kevin Harvick finished last for him. So
jeez.
that should be noted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some things that Hocevar has done that, he's got to build back from, but it makes a difference too when you come to the Cup side because there's fans out there that only watch Cup, so they're only going to know Hocevar by what he's been doing in Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Other thing, a lot of tweets today as well, and I'm sorry I'm not referencing some of these. They're just like kind of the in general things I saw more of throughout the day. A lot of people calling Alex Bowman the worst play racer of all time. And I don't know what they want him to do because he led the third line with laps on laps on laps to go, and they couldn't get enough momentum to get up there. His only chance was to try and go to the middle and try to make something happen using those two low lines. And even then, like, your
I don't
chances of getting in that pack, I mean, you might wreck someone trying to merge down there.
I wouldn't go to say that he's the worst one. He's definitely like not great at it, but like I feel like super speedway racing, you're either good at it or you're fine at it. Like there's no,
Oh, you can be really
and
bad at it.
well, I mean, yes,
I think if you or I either one of us walked up to Kyle Larson and said, "What do you think of your skills at a super speedway?" He would say, "I have no clue what I'm doing," like he said on the radio today, while in like
Yeah.
second or third place, which is a crazy thing for him to say because I mean, I respect the hell out of that dude. He's very fucking talented. He's the best racer in the sport for sure, driving wise. But
And it's so weird because Larson is, I mean, especially on the dirt side, like he's so good at dirt, and dirt is very much of like
that
deciding,
reaction, little moments
yeah,
in the
like
inch of stuff. Yeah,
managing the track changing, deciding what lane is going to work best for you, where to go, all that stuff, and like absorbing all that, taking all that in, analyzing that, and making a decision on that. And he's so good at that. And that's a lot of like what super speedway racing is too, is like a lot of like the same thing. And he just struggles with that. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. You can look and be like, people like him aren't very good at it. I wouldn't say Bowman's horrible at it, but he's just not one of those guys that are great at it. He's just a mid pack super speedway guy, which unfortunately mid pack is where a lot of the accidents happen. Like,
yeah, and I came back and finished 29th, I think. Yeah, 29th
yeah.
sounds about right. And that stinks for him. Looked like he had a good shot. I just don't know where they wanted that to go. That wasn't the direction that it went, anyways. Let me make sure I don't have anything else from the Cup race. Oh, I do have the standings for next week. That'd be a good one to talk about. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Hope you guys enjoyed these sound effects there.
Cue the Jeopardy music.
I'm trying to get the other stuff locked and loaded. We got a big talking point on this fight that happened in the truck race. I want to brag about Brett Moffitt more, and I'll let people make fun of me because I didn't take money out on him. Playoff standings. Here we go. So Denny Hamlin has a 50-point lead on the cutoff. Obviously, Byron and Blaney have clinched already. I believe Denny just needs 8 points in the next race to clinch into the next round. Christopher Bell is 22 above the cutoff. Buscher's 19. Martin Truex 17. Kyle Larson 15 points above that cutoff. And then the last spot inside the cutoff is Brad Keselowski, but he's only got a 2-point lead on Tyler Reddick, 9-point lead on Bubba Wallace, 10-point lead on Chastain, and a 26-point lead on Kyle Busch. So we're going in the Roval with a very good road course racer on the brink of elimination. I'm excited to see what happens with this. Obviously, Larson's been really good there. Chase Elliott has one there. Who do you think is sitting in the best position of those guys not locked in the next round? You can't pick Denny.
It's so hard for me because I have not watched a Roval race since it came about.
Oh, because you go to October. That's where you guys
Yeah,
don't like the
so
Roval. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I don't. It's not I don't like it, but I just don't. We've never gotten to really see a race on it, so it's hard for me to say. Um, I mean, Denny is one that has a good shot, but of course he's so far in that it really doesn't matter. But I mean, I like a guy like Byron could do well, and he's locked in, so we could see something where it's going to be a crucial points battle. Bubba Wallace, I think it's going to be a struggle for him. Just not very good at road courses. Kyle Busch is pretty buried deep in the points, so it's going to be hard to make all that up with one race left.
Yeah. I do like that I said Denny Hamlin was. You can't say Denny Hamlin because he's technically not locked in. Then you go straight for a locked-in driver, as the
I
guy
know.
say instead.
So real quick, Rodney Childers tweeted about the DQ. He said, "There's been times I've got caught cheating, doing something that I shouldn't have. Today we got DQ'd for the car buffering in the draft all day and some windshield bolts vibrating out. My guys had silicone on the threads and gobbed on the tip. They still came out. Not sure what else we could do." So
Sounds like you got a pretty unsafe car if it's coming apart during the race.
I mean, for real, especially if they've reinforced it. I mean, that sounds like something you could definitely appeal
Hey,
and
Caleb, you know
probably.
what? You know what, Caleb? Okay, no, the appeals panel is targeting in college football. They put a deal or no deal guy up there in the booth,
Oh
shadow
boy.
face and everything, conceal the identity. He flips his little coin, and then he gets it back. And is it targeting or is it not? Well, is it heads or tails? That's what the appeals panel looks like to me when it comes to consistency. They don't even have the same people ruling on everything. So I can't wait to see what the fucking bullshit they throw out the wall from the appeals panel this week. And I am going to hate on them until you guys got the same damn people ruling on stuff and you defend your ruling and they make sense, by the way. That's a massive thing. And if it doesn't make sense to the casual fan, holy shit, go explain it. But I'm going to hate on them until it looks like it's an in due process, normal, like fast moving, efficient thing because it has been a joke for 2 years. Flat,
Yeah,
flat and
it's
simple.
also
Also,
it's also fun.
this should be settled Tuesday. You have your appeals meeting, have it figured out. It should be settled Tuesday. If you're on the appeals panel, that's your fucking meeting day, and that's where you'll figure this shit out. And that should take an hour, no longer than that.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't have a rant, and it popped into my head. So there you go, kid.
it is. Yeah, there's a lot more to that, but it is funny. So like, some people, in their tweets, like somebody said, wouldn't they have caught that in pre-race inspection? There's nothing.
Yeah, you
There's
can't
nothing.
catch it, right?
How are you going to catch bolts that haven't came out yet? And I I almost wonder if they're saying like there was something that the four team didn't do to let that happen, and like that's just not the case. Like that's not, you weren't going to catch that. Plus, they think that these cars, that NASCAR looks at every nut and bolt in inspection. Like, could you imagine if they looked at every single piece of that car? Inspection would last 3 days at every track. Like, there's just no way. But yeah, I mean that is super super unfortunate.
You
If
aren't an advocate for taking all the bullets out of the car and seeing how much silicone they glued to them?
yeah, how come they didn't catch that those bolts were gonna vibrate out?
I love his phrasing on that. It's beautiful.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, funny damn times in this sport. I will tell you what. All right, let's talk about this truck race because fucking Brett Moffitt won. I'm still happy about. Oh man.
Oh, good lord.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
yeah, Brett Moffitt won.
Did you see? So his post race interview comes on. I hold Brett to a pretty high talent level, pretty high standard.
We know.
He okay. All right. Thanks, Caleb. Yeah.
It didn't need to be said.
No, I'm just trying to lead into what he said. He said that he dreads coming to Talladega because he doesn't think he's a good plate racer. Well, that fucking last lap would beg to differ for me. I held him in regards as one of the top plate racers. He's always been good in Xfinity when he goes to a plate track. He's always been good in the trucks when he goes to one. And this week was no different. And he made a much more impressive move than Ryan Blaney did to win that race. Not discrediting one or the other. I'm just trying to tell you guys how sick his move to get over on that lap. He did everything perfect on the last lap, and there was 3 different times he could have wrecked 17 cars behind him.
Well, that's what I feel like. It's one of those things where like, okay, yeah, he's a decent plate racer, but like it's those guys that like consistently
No, you
make
can't
those
do this to
moves.
Brett Moffitt. He's a Truck Series champion, Caleb, and he earned the shit out of that, and and he should have a second one.
What does that have to do with plate racing?
You just said it's these guys that are pretty good play racers. They suck everywhere else, is what you were about to say.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But like, okay, like the people like Ryan Blaney, you can say like he is good at plate
Okay,
racing.
all
And
right. I
so
like you.
there's
Okay, I
people like
like what you're
Brett
saying now.
Moffitt. There's people like Brett Moffitt that like they're good, but like you just don't like go and say, because he's not the guy that you would put money on to like consistently make moves like that. But you could still a guy like Brett Moffitt, who's a good race car driver, you can still find yourself in that spot because you're a good heads up driver. So yeah, he might not be like consistently great, but he's still pretty solid at it. My thing about that race, obviously we had the Crafton versus Sanchez thing, but
Yeah, we're
I
gonna get
don't
to that. We're gonna
understand.
get to that. Don't worry.
I don't understand how there wasn't more talk about, and this, you with your inconsistencies of NASCAR.
Mine.
Yeah, like you hate how inconsistent NASCAR is
Yeah.
on things. There's not enough talk about the locking bumpers rule.
Oh no, let's talk about it. I like it. Yeah.
And
If you're gonna have a
I don't
rule, enforce it because it wasn't enforced pretty clearly.
know. And ever since they have came out with that rule for Xfinity and for trucks, they have been very wishy-washy on when they decide to pull it out. There's
It's
times
almost like calling a guy off for jumping the restart at a dirt track in a single file restart line.
oh god. No, it's there's times where like there's times in and I'm trying to think of when it even last was, but like there was a time in Xfinity one time where they locked for like 2 seconds
Yeah,
and
it's
NASCAR,
you could bring up two names and not not even
yeah,
fact check them, and you'd be just as close as I was. But we'd remember the same exact thing if we found the actual moment.
yeah, but there's been times where like people barely lock and they call it, but then we've seen other times where they lock for an entire corner, or yesterday it was an entire lap and nothing gets said of it. And the issue that I have is they're not going to call that, which is a very blatant, obvious rule infraction that's causing an advantage, but they chose to penalize Nick Sanchez because he was half a truck back on one of the restarts. And I would just like to say, when you are sitting in a car with your Hans device and everything, you are keeping up with a dude who's going to hit the gas at any time. You're going 55 miles an hour. You can't be ahead of him at all, and you can't be half a truck length behind him at all. Your margin of space is now so tight without getting a penalty. So they're going to call that and tell Sanchez he has to do a pass through.
They
But
called him for a pass through earlier in that race for that,
yeah,
and they didn't
yep,
penalize
because
either of those two guys late because it was late in the race.
nope. But they Sanchez was half a truck back. He was at like the door, and they called it because he was lagging back, and they were like, "Well, we warned you guys that we're not doing that." But the obvious rule of
If you're not enforcing it every lap of the entire race, and the rules put in right, you guys know why that rule's in there. Everybody here knows it. The Truck Series roster is depleted of clean racers. It didn't make it there. The Xfinity roster is not like that. I hope these teams don't continue to just graduate people through their programs so they don't have to deal with the fuck up kids. But that's why that rule exists. I trust me on that one. That is the only reason that rule exists, is to try and clean up these plate races. If you're not calling it every single lap of the race, then don't have it. Just absolutely not. It is, as you said, like a rule with that much of a margin of error is incredibly difficult to call. Not to call if you're NASCAR, but to actually, I'm riding behind this guy. Is my bumper 1 inch further ahead than I think it is, or 1 inch behind where I think it should be? I don't know. But yeah, if you're not enforcing that the entire race, don't call it at all.
yeah, and it just I don't know, like the advantage that Sanchez got was so minimal compared to shoving a guy around the track. I mean, one, that's a huge advantage because other people can't do it. And it's not like it was two guys who were 23rd and 24th that were pushing. It was literally up at the front. And so I don't understand how you can have that blatant of a rule infraction, and NASCAR it doesn't even say anything. And none of the media called them out. None of the media asked why there was no
That is
call
not
on
true. I
that.
retweeted a tweet about this.
Did you? Because I didn't see anything about it.
I retweeted something about it. About are we
I'll
going
have to go look.
someone said I'd be really pissed. I don't think this was the one I retweeted, but I know someone said I'd be really pissed if one of those two guys locking bumpers around the track won the race over Brett Moffitt.
But they didn't go ask NASCAR.
Okay, those weren't media people. I'm saying
Yeah,
I,
no,
as a
okay.
media person, tweeted about it.
Yeah,
All I was giving you shit for.
there was some fans that were talking about it, but like I asked Matt Weaver because I was hoping he would go ask NASCAR. I like somebody needs to go to them and be like, why did you not penalize this? Like, what's the reason for it? Are you no longer like, what the fuck is the deal on it?
Is it bad
It
if
just,
I just think we'd get an answer that didn't suffice to what we wanted to hear and we'd still be just as pissed about it?
yeah, it'll be some PR'd out answer, but it just, it was so blatant. I mean, I just,
Sorry, I get what you're saying. You need checks and balances and things.
well, it just doesn't, and unfortunately, this is a problem we've had all the time where like it just doesn't get called. But then we'll go to Daytona next spring in the Xfinity Series, and somebody will give somebody a bump, and they'll call it, and it's like, well,
It'll be
you didn't.
Mike Lynette coming out of retirement for one final race. They'll call it with 3 to go. You have to know these jokes are coming. Like, this is the only category of jokes that can make you laugh. Everything else is strictly to get you in a pissy mood at me.
Oh lordy.
Right.
What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the Sanchez Crafton deal?
Yeah, we're talking about two babies fighting each other. I won't necessarily say that about Nick Sanchez and Matt Crafton. If you're watching on the YouTube, I'm going to try to share the screen here real quick. Maybe? Oh, geez, this isn't good. Here we go. Share that. It's from Front Stretch, I believe. Taylor Swift trending on Twitter. There you guys go. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So this is the alternate angle of the Sanchez fight, aftermath of the fight. We'll get to what may or may not have happened, allegedly. But this is Nick Sanchez getting up and what he had to say afterwards. Can you hear the audio, Caleb? All right, so we'll see. If you guys can hear the audio, then I'll do it a different way next time we do the show. Hopefully you could hear the audio. But his quote there that he said, "Motherfucker, I'm going to kill you at Homestead." That was the big takeaway I had after the race. That quote, that frame, steal the fuck out of that video, and that should be at the ad. Every single ad promoting this race weekend should be that.
I don't think that's a good look.
Every single ad. If it was the NBA and LeBron said, "I'm going to kill you at Vegas, Kyrie," that was where the finals were being played. I don't know. That'd be awesome. Everyone would love it. No, I don't think he's actually going to kill him. No, he said to reporters after the race that he's going to go try to win the race. He's not actually going to try to kill Matt Crafton. But that is a money quote, and it's something that we should promote because we're going to do it in 20 years anyway. This has been precedent on precedent. We're going to show it down the road. So show it now. Holy cow. I'd rather show fights than fiery accidents. Shoot me.
I mean, to a point, yeah. It's hard because that's definitely a not a good look. But at the same time, I mean, if his version of events are correct, I can't blame him for, saying what he was going to say. Matt Crafton has a different version of events. So it's going to be very interesting to see what NASCAR does. In the past, they typically don't really penalize for fighting. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. The fans don't really seem to be on Matt Crafton's side.
Yeah, and that's normal with some of this type of stuff. You're kind of looking at things that the kid says this first, and so you have this thought, and it's really easy to hate on the older guy who is taking his crap out on a younger kid. So there's a lot of different, I don't know, I guess types of things that go into why everyone's against Matt Crafton, or so it looks like. I did want to read the statements. Nick Sanchez said that he got sucker punched, and that was why he had a bloody face and everything, and that's what started the whole deal.
Well, and his version is too that he was walking. Him and his mother's version is that he was walking in the garage afterwards, when Crafton approached him from behind, tapped him on the shoulder, and as soon as Nick turned around, Crafton threw a punch. So that's what Sanchez is saying.
Yeah, so Matt Crafton says in a statement that before the cameras started rolling, I approached Nick and said, "Hey." When he turned around, I said, "What the fuck?" To which he actually used dash, question mark, exclamation point. So that I took that as fuck. You guys can take that as whatever you would. To which Nick looked right at me and threatened me. That is when it all went to hell. I had his attention. Words were exchanged all before anything physical took place. So I did not, quote, sucker punch the guy. There may not be video, but there were plenty of eyewitnesses. Now, I've not seen one of those eyewitnesses come forward on Twitter, at least, nor Facebook. So if someone has,
the only witness that's really came forward, which obviously it's a biased account, it's Nick's mom, but she said that he basically popped out behind a stack of tires like he was hiding or waiting, and then
I hadn't read this yet.
Yeah, so
you dropped the
that's
ball on this one. I was going to read the whole thing what she wrote.
Yeah, so that's kind of her eyewitness account, is that he basically popped out like he was waiting for him. And
okay, so Shaney Rosen Sanchez, cool name. I mean Rosen, like for the middle name. I don't know. Sorry. Getting enamored over here, folks. She says on her Facebook, I believe, after the race, Nick and his PR right-hand lady, Christy, so we now have a name for the girl who did her job. You think too well, I think too shitty.
Okay, well, I can tell you I talked to 2 other PR people, or like people in that
okay.
And they also agree that she did exactly what she was hired to do and what she should have done. So
making your driver less available is never my favorite option.
No, it wasn't less available.
She said we're not answering that question that her driver just answered, and answered it well. Like,
yeah, but
you could 12 out of 10 answer.
As a media member, what's media's next question then after he says that?
Are you going to kill him?
So you're not going to retaliate? Exactly.
That's what I asked him, and he'd say no. I'm just going to go try to win the race. He would say the same thing he had just said.
Yeah,
he would say, "I'm just here so I don't get fined." It would turn into a meme, and boom, you have 2,000 more Twitter followers the next day.
To be worried about what your driver was about to say,
and teach him not to say stupid shit, and you don't worry about it, and then you don't look like
he was mad. You know damn well people say things when they're mad,
and you know damn well how that can look on some people. How that might be a bad look for Matt Campbell a couple weeks ago. Saturday, a lot of people were shitting on Nick Sanchez. And you know that if you get in front of a microphone and explain yourself, and Matt Campbell did for 20 seconds, Nick did it for a minute and a half, and he was going to keep going. And you know who looked better from those specific instances alone? Nick Sanchez by 2 country miles. And that was just with what he said. So throw in my triple or quadruple amount of time that I let him stand there, and we're going to have him famous on TikTok for something, I guess. All right, we're agreeing to disagree on that aspect because it wasn't really anything I was that passionate in. But anyways, so Shaney, his mom, by the way, this is her telling of the Sanchez versus Crafton fight, says, after the race, Nick and his PR right-hand lady, Christy, were walking next to each other back to his hauler. Renee and I were about 10 steps behind them. I don't know who Renee is, but she's entered the story. It says, then in a flash, another driver literally came out of nowhere. Parentheses, we think he was hiding behind some tires. So this is about Matt Crafton. Closing parentheses. Then tapped Nick on his shoulder from behind. When Nick turned his face to see who it was, he then sucker punched Nick. Didn't say a word, no confrontation, just flat out blindsided him. The driver had already changed out of his fire suit into plain clothes to blend in with everyone else. I feel like that might be because he exited the race early, but sure. I like the conspiracy. I like the Scooby Doo-ness of this. Obviously, he was waiting for Nick to walk by. He had it planned. Like Nick said, it was a cheap shot. anyone who knows Nick knows he's not an aggressor and would never do that to another driver. The rest of this is about being a parent and
Yeah, obviously, her account's going to be exaggerated because she's a mom and, she's looking out for her kid and everything. But at the end of the day,
I'm just thinking of like the hidden security camera of this because it would be so funny to just like, you imagine Matt
right?
like sitting there plotting.
Yeah, my whole thing too is I just don't. It's a Talladega wreck. Like I just don't think that anything that you could look and say Nick made an aggressive move and wrecked Crafton. A lot of people don't agree with that side of things, but even so, I don't understand it. Like it's a Talladega wreck, and could you imagine if we went to go beat people up every time? Like so, Herb should have
Yeah,
gone
I
in.
can. Every race would be a lot more exciting because all
Oh
week
boy,
we've just been playing this fight, and that's how we're promoting it. That's my thinking on that. Is just go promote the damn fight. But the whole reason this thing was big is because of Nick's bloody face and what he said to him. For real, it wasn't just a
we
normal fight.
like I don't think anybody really like nobody was like, oh, Crafton's gonna go beat him. Like, cause they're just there's times where like people make moves on the track and you're like, oh God, so and so's gonna go beat his ass. But like nobody I don't think was like, oh, we
I would
gotta go
I would
see.
argue 50% of the fights are on the left side. You don't think they're going to happen on the right side. They are, and 50% of the
I
time,
mean,
when you
yeah,
think it's going to happen, it doesn't.
there's times, but I just that whole factor of like it was a Talladega wreck. Like it was just a Talladega wreck. And so I don't know. I think Crafton just yeah, I thought it was pretty poor. Even
It is
even
not a
if
good
you
look for Matt Crafton trying to be the modern day Todd Bodine. The frame
even if
that
you
just won a lot of races in that series and was always cool, always a nice guy. That's a really bad look for Matt.
right.
All things
Yeah.
considered, every time I've talked to him, he's seen, I compare everyone to Greg Biffle because when I was a kid, I didn't think he had that much of a personality. And as he got older, he got more fun and got more open to talking to people. And you just never see them go left, right, or even center for that matter. They're just the Chase Elliott standing there talking to you. Matt always just came off as kind of normal guy. This story, I'm obsessed with this story of him sitting behind tires and plotting his plan to blend in street clothes and attack Nick Sanchez on his way back.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that, but I'm sure NASCAR will, do their investigation. But like I said, it'll be interesting because
That'll take
NASCAR
3 weeks if they go at the speed of the appeals panel. So can't wait to hear
NASCAR
about
just
that in November. I'm sorry, you
NASCAR
can
doesn't
talk.
really have a past of penalizing people for fighting. But like
That might get it.
it especially I think especially if they do their investigations and they determine like yeah, he just flat out blindsided him.
He,
Like I feel like
he was
that
sitting
warrant.
there plotting and stewing. I
Yeah.
wish that's the penalty report comes up and says that specifically. Got in street clothes and hid behind tires in order to maliciously attack driver on way back from car.
Matt Crafton put on a Bill Clinton mask and was hiding behind tires.
Oh, this is definitely going in the podcast title. Investigating if Matt Crafton was stewing behind the tire piles.
Oh man. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what gets determined this week on that.
Absolutely. I'm still digging around for schedule stuff for you guys. This Iowa Speedway rumor kind of came wholeheartedly out of the woodwork. That is the wrong two words to put into that, but you get what I'm saying. I'm digging with what I can on the Iowa Speedway stuff. I haven't heard anything different from either side, nor about this Montreal stuff. That's kind of how a lot of these things go, is some stuff gets out there one way or another, and then it's just out there. And it hasn't necessarily came from people that work from Iowa Speedway or that work out of Montreal and stuff like that. So I'm still digging around for that. This is the last story I wanted to cover on here, though. And I suppose I should probably share the screen and all that. One
I
more
will
time.
say too, it is hard because I feel like just about every year we've gotten teased with Iowa Speedway could get a cup date. So like it's hard to tell if it's just those people, it's those same people making up the same rumors. We get that at Hawkeye Downs every year when the season
You guys
ends.
get cup race rumors too?
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna
ours
start them.
are ours are that we're changing our track back to dirt. And every year when the season ends, we start, you guys are going back to dirt? You guys are going back to dirt? And so like our season ended, and then just like last week, my mom texted me, "Oh, Hawkeye Downs is going back to dirt." I'm like, "No, every year they'll
That's
keep the
the
season."
weirdest thing. So Knoxville kind of had a similar thing happen where I had a few people text me and ask if the late model nationals were coming back. They are. Jason looked at me like I was a bat out of hell when I asked him about it. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, a lot of people at Port Royal. He went up. Jason is Knoxville's GM. And he went up to Port Royal up in Pennsylvania to see how they run things and kind of do some, training research. What else do you call it? Working with colleagues, shooting the shit, social hour. I'm almost there on the business words, guys. I'm getting a lot better, I promise.
Yeah.
But he went up there to do some recon, and I guess he was asked about that rumor the entire time he was up there. And it's just some of these things are just weird. And whoever we're gonna get down, if this was never in the wood, if it comes out that Iowa Speedway was never being considered, I'm going to do a manhunt. I'm going to do a goose hunt to figure out who the hell is spreading this Iowa Speedway rumors to kick me in the balls every summer when the schedule eventually comes out, or fall, whatever you call it.
Well, we know where to start. It was on the Door Bumper Clear podcast. So
Oh, okay. I already got them for other stuff, so we'll take them one at a time, right? I'm kidding. I did want to. I just want to ask you guys if you have any information here and help this guy out, because there's a thievery, a robbery on the grounds at Talladega this week. I hope you guys can still see that, and that this Zoom thing isn't in front of it. Okay. All right. So the account, this man posted on his Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. And he posts in the Talladega Super Speedway Camping and Tailgating Facebook group and says, "Whoever stole the Kyle Busch sign, you know where it came from, return it. Share, 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 share. Double exclamation points here. A reward, $100 reward." That was also posted twice. And then just come by and let me know where it's at. I'll deal with it. ... Just share the location / camp spot / section. ... Anything. Step up, text or call, put his number there, and then put his camping spots down. He had a banner on the front of his tailgating area that just reads, "Kyle Busch is a douchebag." And the banner was stolen overnight. He wants it back.
You know what my favorite part of the whole deal is? Did you see the name of the guy who posted it?
Yeah, I was going to read his name, but it would give away what it was. His account is also called Kyle Busch is a douchebag. They have a Twitter account. It has like 19 followers. Like, I was overwhelmed with joy when I saw that this was a real thing that happened. Because especially if I'm a drunk Kyle Busch fan, my entire night is going to revolve around getting drunk enough to where I'm still awake when no one else is and stealing that damn sign.
I'm looking to see if he posted an update.
Oh, hell yeah. This is good.
One day ago, he said, "Oh my God."
Do you need to send this to me?
I'll send it eventually. I'm assuming this is the guy.
Is his account also Kyle Busch is a douchebag?
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about one of the pictures on there.
Sure,
So
I'm just trying to figure out if this is like a t-shirt tent or if it's just his tailgating area.
So one day ago, the latest update on the page is, "You can't keep a good man down. It's a flag. We will get by. Banner still missing. Reward is up $300 and VP all you can drink at King's. Share."
That's got to be the same guy.
Well, I know it's the same guy. I'll send you the picture in Twitter that I was referencing. I know it's the same page, but
All right. So I'll hit stop. Hold on. I can do this through what we use at Cyclone Fanatic, but I haven't taught myself how to use it yet. And this is phenomenal. He has a cutout of himself. This is amazing. I might follow this guy. And I don't think Kyle Busch is that big of a douchebag, but if you talk to me after he took out Chase Elliott at Martinsville that 1 year, or it was Darlington, I'm sorry, Hamlin was Martinsville. He has a cutout of himself with his Kyle Busch is a douchebag forehead bumper plates. Is that forehead license plate? That is we have to have Damon do this for Halloween.
Oh boy.
I think Damon could pull it off.
Oh boy. Good Lord.
Oh man, this has been awesome. What a Sunday. The last thing I have for you before we let the people go. Do you think that was the best super speedway race in the next gen era? I do. That's why I'm phrasing it like that. And where does that rank amongst your favorite races in the next gen era?
Well, I would agree. It was probably one of the best in the next gen era for super speedways. It's still a super speedway, so it's not going to rank real high on the overall list. But
yeah, on your list, that's fair.
He had to have known that was coming.
Yeah, I should have. I don't know why I'm surprised.
I mean, yeah, it was. I'm glad nobody died. I'm glad that we didn't have a complete and utter wreck fest like the trucks. So that was good. And yeah, we didn't really have any like single file, field strung out deals. So, I mean, I definitely think it was a step in the right direction.
I thought everything, all things considered, I thought it was really good. I hope the Roval just kicks as much ass and we just have 5 more damn good race weekends to end the NASCAR portion of the year. And we'll see what happens. And I can't wait for the schedule shit on silly season. I will tell you, I thought more of the schedule was leaked. It has not been. I did a lot of researching today. I only found 9 dates. And they're just dates. Some of them are just races.
There just hasn't been a whole lot of talk about it either, so it'll be interesting to see.
I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before that. I believe I was working in the Barnstormers office, and this website that put together travel packages that they like book hotels and shit in advance for you, and everything's like taken care of with one button rather than 3, or dealing with 3 things. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they probably put a fee on it or whatever, but they leaked like half the schedule. And I believe like everything was either right or one was wrong and the rest were correct. And that was like a month or 2 before it came out. So I had it put together pretty well. And I think it still had a date or 2 messed up, but we'll see. I don't know, wherever Iowa could fall. We just know it's not July 10th and 11th or whatever Saturday, Sunday, the IndyCar race is.
We won't be on the podcast Wednesday or Sunday.
You guys are going to Oktoberfest, yeah.
Yep. So we'll be gone. It'll be a good time. So
we'll hold down the fort, drive safely, party hard, respect the Roval. Tell everyone up there the Roval's a good thing. We need it back. I will be emotionally distraught if they take the Roval away at this point.
Well, good luck with that. We'll all be focused.
I don't need another oval in the playoff. I just don't. I'd rather have the Roval than I'd rather have Iowa Speedway than the Roval. Okay, we'll actually say that. So everyone out there that wants the Roval gone, that's the hitch you got to wag into. Other way around.
God, could you imagine Iowa gets a September playoff date?
Oh my! Do you know how the media in the state would still just say, "Oh, it's football season. What do you mean you had a Cup playoff race?"
Well, that would be the problem.
We went to Iowa Speedway in July. What are you talking about?
That would be the problem, though. That's the problem you face. Everybody would want to go to Iowa State and Iowa football games, so that you would struggle.
Yeah, but you go Sunday. That race would sell out 10 times over. they've been putting that shit in people's ears for so long. If we finally got one, at least the first one will sell out, and I hope everyone has a blast there. That's what they need to key in on, is having a partner like Hy-Vee and doing the things that Hy-Vee put around that place to make it feel like a big event and make everyone have a good time. And if they
Right.
can do that. And by the way, those ticket prices went down. See that?
For next year,
The IndyCar Iowa Speedway next year, it looks like all the ticket prices are going down.
I'll have to take a look. I haven't honestly looked yet, so
Nate Ryan, I believe it was either him or Nate Brown. They both cover IndyCar both very well, each other.
man, you know
So
what that means? We're probably gonna get like some knockoff cover band for.
it's going to be some blonde girl that is singing all of Taylor Swift songs, but it won't be Taylor Swift, which actually probably would go off really well.
They'll just decide the day of. They'll be like, Jan in section 203, seat 16. Please come perform for us.
Oh man, I wish we lived closer. We'd be filming a skit of Matt Crafton hiding behind tires tomorrow. So hope you guys enjoyed this show. Hope you guys enjoy what we're doing at Always Race Day, and are able to get out to another race before the off season officially gets here. So appreciate you guys listening. We'll have the Dirt Show Monday night is what we're shooting for. If you don't hear it on Monday, it'll be there Thursday. It'll be extra long if we don't do Monday. So look out for that, and a lot of stuff to talk about on that side too. And yeah, let's bring on the Roval, bring on Charlotte, and this week should kick ass. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all.